Hardy har, and welcome to the season finale of Adventures in Game Chasing. Yarr! My adventure today starts off on the highway, where I will go to the Marché aux Puces Métropolitain, the flea market. I don't always come here, but when I'm looking for specific things, it's a nice place to come to because they seem to have a lot of everything. If you're looking for something, and unless it's something super obscure, you have good chances of finding it. However, this is the kind of place that has those dreaded market prices, you know? Oh, I can't do that deal because, well, the market prices. You guys make the market. F you! Anyways, up to Banco, where we will find other things. This is one in the north of the island, so it's not as visited as the other ones. There's a lot of fun things here that haven't been plundered yet. Well, at least not before I arrived. But I found a couple things here and there that really were to my liking, and I picked them up. I'll definitely come back here. And the final place, which is located near the new studio I have. A really fun place because all the rare games and the common games here are sort of mixed up together, so you could be like browsing and hey, there's a Mega Man X right next to Madden Football. It's not hidden in a glass case, and I like this kind of in the wild approach. We'll come back here definitely. What a chase! What a grand adventure for this season finale. So anyways, as I was saying, I got games today that I've always wanted as a kid, but obviously couldn't afford at the time. But now, I can afford them, and I could find them, and I did. So here's what I got. First up, for the Game Boy, Kirby's Dream Land. Now this is a fun game, and it is the first Kirby game ever made. They didn't quite know what to do with the character design-wise, so originally Kirby was sort of white-colored. Eventually, for the sequel, Kirby's Adventure on the NES, he became officially pink, but in his first adventure, Kirby is white. Kirby's Dream Land, where it all started. A great game to have for the Game Boy. Up next, another game I've always wanted, this time for the NES. DuckTales from Capcom and Disney. DuckTales is a classic. Everybody loves this game. It's awesome. The only thing more awesome than this one is the second one, which is really, really rare. One day, maybe I will get it. But for now, I've got DuckTales, and what's really cool about this copy is it's such in good condition. It's like, so clean. I don't think I've ever seen a clean DuckTales. This is really, really clean, even inside. It's like this one was forgotten somewhere, and somebody took it out, and I found it. So clean, I could just have a good time with it. DuckTales, a great game, with a really, really cool soundtrack, especially on the moon level. You guys know which one I'm talking about. DuckTales. You guys should get it, because DuckTales is awesome. For the Super Nintendo, rip and tear, motherfucker! It's Doom on the Super Nintendo. Now, beyond the fact that this cartridge is red, extreme! This is a really kind of okay port. The Super Nintendo Super FX chip could only do so much, and Doom was kind of pushing it. However, at the time, if you didn't have a PC, or, I don't know, a Sega 32X, and you really wanted to play Doom that badly, well, there are worse things like not playing Doom. Everybody should be playing Doom. I mean, you're at school, in the middle of class, you should be playing Doom on your phone. You're at your wedding, look at your significant other in the eye, and instead of saying I do, say I Doom. You're a baby in the womb, you should be playing Doom. Anyways, Doom, the Super Nintendo version. One of the worst versions of Doom, but for your Super Nintendo, it's one of the best first-person shooters for the Super Nintendo. In fact, it's one of like 4 or 5 first-person shooters for Super Nintendo. So anyways, Doom, Doom, get Doom, rip and tear! And now for the PlayStation 1, which was my console of choice when I was growing up. I had an NES, I wanted a Super Nintendo, but by gosh, I got a PlayStation for my birthday instead when I was 8. Here we go with some things I really wanted for the old PSX, but of course, you can't have every game when you're a child. But when you're a man-child, you can get every game you want. So start off with just the disc version of Blasto. Now this one is kind of hard to find, and eventually I will find a case for it, but I wanted this game so much and I saw it for a good price, so I decided to take it. Blasto is kind of a cool, slightly generic Sony character, however it is the last role of the late great Philip Hartman before he was murdered. Kind of a dark note, but it's got some great lines in it, and if you don't know who Phil Hartman is, well, you should watch the old Simpsons. You'll get a good gander at him. Another game that I've always wanted for the console, Beast Wars Transformers. This was a game based on the Transformers Beast Wars series, which played when I was a youngin' in Canada up on YTV. I've always wanted this game, and I had a friend who had it, and he wouldn't let me play it. His parents were like, we don't like having your friends over after school because you come back from school and we want you to bed at 7:30. He's like, you know, weird 90s parents, your bedtime is 7:30, you 13-year-old, whatever. Whatever. Anyways, he had Beast Wars, but I couldn't come over to check it out, but now I have Beast Wars. And honestly, it's a piece of shit. But that's okay, because, it's in my collection, I guess. That's a good thing about it. Beast Wars. Another game I wanted to try and that was slightly disappointing, but whatever, I love it anyways, is Reboot. Now, I've always loved Reboot, and as a proud little Canadian boy, I mean Irish boy, pirate, on the sea, I'm getting all my characters confused, don't worry about me. Anyways, as me when I was younger, I've always wanted Reboot, and Reboot was an award-winning Canadian series which was the first completely CGI series. It also plays dear in my heart, and that little heart breaks for what they done with the reboot of Reboot recently. I know what you're talking about, huh? Topical. But anyways, Reboot. A good game. Well, no, not a good game, but I'll pop it in once in a while and play it, I guess. Reboot. Also for the PlayStation 1, and this time a decent game, one that I've always wanted, and in this exact version, Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dream, the long box. And what's fun about this one is long boxes are kick-ass, and what's cool is I even have the booklet. I always find long boxes without the booklet, and these little pads of foam that they put in there to like protect the disc, but this is what a long box looks like in some of the versions of the long boxes. You have long boxes that are like this, that are sort of cardboard, and then you have long boxes which are more like the Sega CD cases, which are more like long CD cases. But anyways, this will go in my long box collection for the PlayStation 1 games, which I'm trying to do, the whole long box set. I'll have an episode in Season 2 where I go into detail more about long boxes, but this is another one that I add for my collection, and it just looks pretty cool. Always wanted to have this one. Always didn't have the time to either afford it or find it, so I took the time. Here I go with this PlayStation 1 long box in my collection. And finally, the pièce de résistance, of this collection, Ghoul Patrol for the... I was gonna say PlayStation. Ghoul Patrol for the Super Nintendo. Now what's cool with Ghoul Patrol, it's actually the sequel of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which is another great game from the guys over at LucasArts. You know the Star Wars and Indiana Jones films? Well, they made other games, like Monkey Island and Day of the Tentacle, and Ghoul Patrol, which apparently has been published by JVC, who used to make VHS tapes and stuff. The 90s, and distribution and licensing. Anyways, Ghoul Patrol is an excellent game. Not quite as good as Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but twice as rare at least, and this one cost me $100. This is probably the highest I've paid for one game on this show, at least in this season. Wait till you see what I got for Season 2. Anyways, Ghoul Patrol, excellent. Zeke and Julie come back to fight the forces of the undead and the occult. And, well, it's a great game, it's fun, fast-paced, and I highly recommend Ghoul Patrol. If you can find a copy of this, or, you know, get an emulator. That's another thing. If you guys find rare Super Nintendo games or Nintendo games, cartridge-based games, always take a little look-see inside if it's the real thing, because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes people try to pass off repros as the real thing. This is the real thing, I've checked. So I finally own a copy of Ghoul Patrol for the Super Nintendo, and that was one game that I've wanted for years and years, and now it is mine. And that was it for the last episode of Season 1 of Adventures in Game Chasing. Thank you all for watching this show and for sending in comments, and I know you guys like stuff like contests and the adventure portions and things like that. Season 2 is going to have a lot more of that. I've been a little pressed for time, but next time when I move to my new studio, everything will go a lot smoother. So I assure you, the show's going to get just better, and it's only going to get better because you guys keep writing comments and I keep finding out what you guys like about it. So, until next time, thank you again, and from this pirate to you, I'll see you again in the next season of Adventures in Game Chasing. Yeah.